Today we're going to be doing this hyper-realistic bowl of cherries in colored pencil on Strathmore 400 paper. For those of you that are new here, my name is Michelle Moreus and I make art tutorials that are fun, easy, and accessible for everyone. And if you're returning, then welcome back. So I have my basic sketch outline down on my paper, and I'm going in with the chestnut brown color Polychromos pencil, and I'm just going in to where my deeper, darker shadows are going to be, and I'm laying down a nice light coat so that when I go over with the red color pencils, you're going to get that shadow. It's also defining our areas and giving us a good roadmap of where we're going with the piece and where those deep shadows are going to be and where everything has to be a little bit lighter. In the beginning stages, it's not about the details, it's really just about mapping in where my tonal changes are and where each color is going to be. So we're just kind of representing all our stems and where our lighter parts of the cherry are going to be and where the darker parts are going to be. So right now it's just about getting a really nice light coat of color pencil down. This will make it easier as we go along to blend everything together because we want a nice smooth finish when we're done. So you just go in and you're going to get all that color down, and I call this color mapping. So you are going to go in and we're going to deepen up all of those shadows as we go along, but right now we're doing everything slowly and gradually and just getting a nice light coat of colored pencil down. And then we'll go in with a little bit of OMS or odorless mineral spirits to blend everything beautifully together. I'm using several shades of red on each of these cherries, anything from an orangey red up to a deep crimson red. And this is where you get a lot of depth in your drawing by layering all of these colors together. It just adds a richness that you don't get if you're just using one or two colors. In the first stages of color mapping, I'm being mindful to leave out my really bright highlighted areas. So I want to keep those really crisp and clean, so I'm being mindful not to put any color pencil on those areas yet. We can put a little bit of white down and we can glaze over them later on, but I'm trying to keep those pretty pure from the beginning because it's a lot easier to pop that highlight when you haven't gone over it with a ton of other color. I am using a little bit of odorless mineral spirits in this drawing to blend out all of the colors on the cherries today. I like to keep my OMS in a small little jar that I keep just for this project. You don't have to fill that jar up with the liquid. You just need a little bit, and a little bit goes a really long way. Now, things to remember when you are using odorless mineral spirits, you want to use them in a well-ventilated area. You want to put the cap back on when you are done each little session of using it, and you want to let your drawing dry in between each time you're using it, so that you're starting with a dry paper. If you go in on top of wet OMS, it's just going to melt those pencils and you're going to have a mess on your hands. So you really want to let that dry in between each application. Now, the beauty of using OMS is it does not ruin the tooth of the paper at all. It just uses the solvent to melt all of that wax together, or in this case, the oil base, Polychromos, or an oil base pencil. It works on either wax base or oil base. And you're going to want to just remember to let it dry in between each thing. You're not ruining the tooth of the paper. And you can put several layers of color pencil on top because you're not messing with that tooth. So you're leaving all of that room for all of your details as we get further along in the drawing. A really important thing to consider even before you start your drawing is you want to consider what paper you're going to be using. Because you're using OMS, I suggest using a heavier weight paper. I'm using a Strathmore 400 series Bristol smooth paper, and it's really thick. It can handle a lot of layers of color pencil, and it can really handle using that solvent on there. If you're using a paper that's too thin, you may have a problem. The OMS may bleed through and you may have a little bit of a mess on your hands. So just consider using a higher grade paper or a heavier weight paper, and you'll have a lot of success using this method. I like to keep a really sharp point on all of my color pencils throughout the whole drawing. The reason for this is you want to be able to control the pressure that you put on the paper. So if you have a really sharp color pencil, you'll be breaking the points if you're pushing too hard. So you'll know that it's kind of a check to control the pressure. And this way you're putting light layers down, and you can put several light layers down. Now, if you are finding that you're breaking the points really easily on your pencils, hold the pencil back on the barrel just a little farther back, and this will help you control that pressure. If you're scarring the paper, you're not going to be able to put a lot more layers down, and you're going to have a hard time getting all that detail, especially when it comes to the middle and end stages of the drawing. I use the Derwent Super Point pencil sharpener. It gives a really sharp, beautiful point to get in all that detail. So that's my favorite pencil sharpener. You can use a blade, you can use a handheld sharpener, but the Derwent Super Point is my go-to for all of my color pencils. And you'll see it gives a really beautiful sharp point, and it is the best one that I found so far. You can find a link for that in the description box below, as well as all of the materials I've been using today in this particular drawing. Another good tip that I have for you is when you are mapping out the size of your drawing, I like to put a artist tape around my edges, and this way when I'm done my drawing, you have a really beautiful border around your finished artwork. So now I'm going to start really pushing my values. So I'm deepening up all of my deep dark shadowy areas, and I'm going in with the OMS and just blending all that together. So it's all about refining at this point. So you want to push those values, you want to use your full range of values, so you want to have your lights be light enough and all your shadows and dark areas be dark enough to really make this pop and be hyper realistic. It really helps sometimes if you step away from the drawing and you compare it to your reference image. So you're looking at it from maybe a different angle or perspective. I like to sometimes hold it up in the mirror, and you can see if things are a little wonky or your lines aren't quite right or something's not round enough. You can sometimes see where you need to push a value or change a shape of something. It gives you a little bit of a different perspective. So then you can go back and you can tweak those things, and this is all part of that refining and defining in the end stages of the drawing. If you'd like to see slower, real-time tutorials of a lot of projects, you can check out my Patreon page. I'll have a link in the description box below. That's where I give you the whole drawing from start to finish. I give you the sketch outline to start from, a materials list, and several reference photos to work from. And then you can draw along with me in real time through the whole entire project. So check that out. This is the part of the drawing that I really love, and it's because everything really starts to pop and look really super hyper shiny and hyper realistic. So we're really tweaking our values, adding our little bit more of a brighter highlight with a Jelly Roll pen, and we're going to really push our deep dark shadows, and everything really starts to really pop at this stage. And this is my favorite part of the drawing. You always go through this weird phase in the beginning where everything looks kind of weird or ugly, and then it starts to come alive somewhere in the middle, and then really starts to pop and get exciting kind of towards the end. I'd be really thrilled to hear from you guys in the comment section below. I do get back to each and every one of you. If there's a medium you'd like to see me cover or a certain project, I'd be happy to get on that for you. So we'll see you in the comment box. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I'm enjoying my YouTube journey. I have many other videos on here to check out. So I look forward to seeing you on the next one, and happy art.